then for, let's see, from 1956 to 62. And then in 1962, I became president. I was born in 1918, and in 1928, when I was 10, we came back to New York, and my mother was looking for the Holy Child nuns with their habit to see if there was a place for my sister and me to go to Holy Child. And she saw in the New York subway station, she saw a Holy Child nun in the subway station. And she went up to her, and the nun looked at my mother and said, "Josephine Sweeney." And my mother said, "Mary Ann Cassidy." And they had both been in school together like 40 years before in England.
Oh my goodness.
And so that was the first time I saw a Holy Child nun. My sister, who was just a year ahead of me, she went to Rosemont a year ahead of me. She went in 1933, and I went in 1934. And we both loved the place, you know, and still do. And I entered the convent in 38. In 1947, they sent me to Rosemont College to teach chemistry, and so I did. In the summers, I went to Catholic University to get my master's degree. And then after I got my master's degree, then I still was back at Rosemont teaching at that. And when I had the master's, then they sent me to Fordham to get my doctorate. And then I came back to Rosemont to teach. But I was supposed to be the dean when I came back, the dean of students, because before that I had had Mother May Cleophas as my dean, and she was academic dean, and also I was to take her place. She wasn't very well health-wise. And she and I went down to the shore, Sea Isle in New Jersey, to divide up our responsibilities. What she would be dean of students, academic dean, and I would be dean of students. And I got a phone call to come back from the shore to see the provincial, and she told me then that the doctor had said Mother Mary Cleophas was not, Mother May Basil really, the academic dean, was not well enough. So the provincial said, "Can you be the dean?" And I had to be both academic and dean of students, both. We put them back together again. And that was quite a challenge, as you can imagine.
Yes.
because I told her I'd never been a dean, so I couldn't be even half a dean at that point. And I started in as dean, and the students came back looking for Mother May Basil, and I welcomed them and everything, and said Mother May Basil would not be their dean anymore. And then they said to me, well, who's going to be our dean? And I didn't answer, and they said, we bet it's you. And it was. I called that the growing years of Rosemont. And then in '61, when I became president, I wrote the troubling years of Rosemont.
The troubling years.
Because the students were getting very restless. They wanted boys to be able to come to their bedrooms and all kinds of freedoms that we weren't ready to give them at that time. And so I was dean then for, let's see, from 1956 to 62. And then in 1962, I became president. We started then, we had no more nuns to give to Rosemont as president after I left. First we got Sister Anne Marie Durst, who's out in California now as head of the law school in California. There's a Cornelia Conley Law School, and she's out there. It's not part of Rosemont. It was the next step.
Mm-hmm.
And she was there for 7 years. And then she went to Cornelia Conley in California.
Right.
And that was when we got Dorothy Brown. That was our first lay president. And I was breaking them in. And different. And she was a married woman with 2 daughters who went to Rosemont.
Oh my.
And so she stayed until her husband became ill. And then I guess, let's see, after Dorothy Brown was Peg Healy would be the next one. Now, Peg Healy had been Bryn Mawr dean at Bryn Mawr College. And she came to Rosemont as dean, and then as president. And after that, we always had lay deans. So I stayed at Rosemont from 1971 when I was leaving, but I was staying to break in the new lay administration. And then I retired.